the New York Yankees have had a very successful season, and there's been some key players in that season. We're going to cover a couple of them, and we're also going to cover someone who's struggled a bit, surprisingly struggled for the Yankees, but will he be able to make a second half bounce back? We'll see. We're going to cover Aaron Judge, Nestor Cortes, Aroldis Chapman, Gleyber Torres, and Clay Holmes. Four of them have been big contributors for the Yankees this season. One of them, obviously, Chapman, has struggled very much in the first half with health and pitching when he's been on the mound. It's been a very, very rough year for him. We're going to cover that all right here on Bleacher Brawls. My name is Derek. I'm here with John and Barnes. So let's get straight into it.
Obviously, try yelling. Oops, sorry. I was just going to say, try yelling a little bit more, just raising your voice just a little bit. It's like you just sound a little far away.
All right. So obviously, it's been a very, very good start to the season for the New York Yankees, and now we're in the All-Star break as of when we're recording this. This will go up just as teams play their first games after the All-Star break. It's been a good year for them. Let's start off with the guy who is probably the leading MVP candidate in the American League and would be a runaway candidate if Ohtani didn't exist. Aaron Judge, 284 average this year, 364 on base, 618 slugging for a 983 OPS, 177 OPS plus, 172 weighted runs created plus. I could go through all the other stats, but I'm not going to do that right now. If we want to get into that later, we can. I'll throw it over to John first. Thoughts on Judge's season. What do we project him for the rest of the year?
Well, my prediction, Judge, first off, I am John dressed as Matt Carpenter tonight, in case anyone needs to pick that up. We're doing the mustache mojo. Got the Carpenter here. Big win over the Red Sox. He's a huge part of it. So Matt Carpenter, you're the man. Getting into Aaron Judge. I think Aaron Judge is going to have a really good second half. I know he slumped a little the past couple of weeks. I think he bounces back. The big thing, what I see with Judge, my prediction for Judge is he's going to get a lot of time off in August. I think the Yankees are going to rest him a little bit more than they have. I think he's going to play the DH a little bit more, right field a little bit more, and they're going to try to rest him to ramp him up for a big September to October run. I think that's when you're going to see a lot of damage throughout with Aaron Judge. I think he's going to have a big September after having a kind of cool, didn't play a lot August.
Yeah, that sounds fair. Barnes, you want to add on to that, or you want to have anything that you think is different?
No, I pretty much agree with that. I don't think he'll get as much rest as maybe John's thinking, just because and I've alluded to this in our newest Bleacher Brawls singles, is that the Yankees' main objective is to stay ahead of the Astros. It's going to be hard to stay at the Astros if you're resting Judge a bunch. So I still think he's going to get a lot of playing time, and I think he's going to ramp it back up. Midseason struggle right around the All-Star break. We see that with a lot of superstars. But I think Judge is going to right the ship, get back on track.
Yeah, he's had a very good year. I'm going to go through a couple quick stats right here. His expected stats actually show him that he's played better than his actual regular stats. 284 average, a 311 expected batting average, a 618 slugging, a 730 expected slugging. Those expected batting average, expected slugging are based on how the ball is hit. So how he's been hitting the ball is actually better than what his stats show and what the box score shows. So he's just having an incredible year, obviously. And like I said, front runner for AL MVP. Next up, we're gonna go to a pitcher right here, and one of the Yankees, one part of their very strong rotation. Nestor Cortes, 17 starts, a 2.63 ERA, 2.82 expected ERA, 3.56 FIP, 3.71 expected FIP. I'll go to Barnes first this time. Expectations for Nestor Cortes the rest of the way.
So this is actually a guy who I think the Yankees wind up resting. I know John said Judge might be that guy. I think Cortes is that guy. Can he do that full length of a season coming off of that short season last year? I personally don't think so. I think this is a guy who can get some extra rest. The Yankees have that nice, comfortable lead. I don't want to say too comfortable. They shouldn't get complacent, but they can definitely afford a bullpen start here and there. We can afford, we got guys like Montgomery and Tyone. Clark Schmidt's ready to go a couple of extra games, a couple of extra innings. So I think we got the tools to help rest that lefty arm, who will eventually be a playoff arm.
Yeah, and I think one of the big questions for Cortes is, can he do it for full season? Last year, he only threw 93 innings. This year, it's 95 2/3 so far. And his stats are somewhat similar to last year's. Obviously, last year, when you look at the stats, somewhat similar. but just a little bit better this year. John, any deferring thoughts on Cortes, or just gonna agree with that and say, you know what, that seems about right?
Yeah, for the most part, I do agree. Their Yankees are going to rest him. He's not going to pitch like every 5 days. They need to give him some time off. Like Barnes said, we got other pitch. We got Clark Schmidt. But we also have Domingo Germán's coming back. JP Sears has pitched well. So there's the Yankees have the flexibility to rest Cortes. I do think with a little bit of rest, like he gets shut down for 2 weeks, then ramped up for 2 weeks. I think we see a dominant Cortes again, like moving into like September into October. I think if he gets that rest, his arm feels good again. I think we can see what we saw again at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and actually a clever way that the Yankees could give him a rest is actually just bringing in a spot starter, and it gets your whole rotation an extra day of rest if you do that as well. So if you mix it in with an off day, you go spot starter off day. Now your whole rotation's getting 2 extra days of rest. So then some clever ways maybe you could play it to get your rotation a couple extra days rest to make sure that they can go the whole way. Next up, we're not going to wait till the end of this one. I do want to get to this one as quick as possible. Aroldis Chapman, just 23 games this year, 19 innings pitched, a 4.74 ERA, 5.48 FIP. Not a great year for him. So I'll go back to John for this one for Aroldis Chapman. What's your expectations for him for the rest of the season?
Aroldis Chapman has not had a good year. He's been pretty much unpitchable. That being said, he still has really good velocity, and all it takes is one general manager to think that they can fix him. And if that one general manager, most likely out of the National League, thinks they can fix him and use him for a postseason run, why not try to make a play to get Aroldis Chapman off the Yankees? It wouldn't take much. The big issue with Chapman is his contract. Who's going to want to take that on? They're going to expect the Yankees to pay for it. Now, my solution, bit of a hot take. I think this is a really good chance of happening. The Yankees trade Aroldis Chapman to the Mets. You have an owner that's not going to be afraid to take on money. Citi Field is a pitcher's park compared to Yankee Stadium, so there's a little bit of an edge there. If Buck or anybody on that coaching staff thinks that Aroldis Chapman's fixable, coming to Shea in a bigger stadium as an owner who doesn't care about taking on money, I think there's a really good chance we see Chapman get traded to Queens.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely trade-wise, I'm not going to say the Mets, but definitely there is a possibility of him getting traded. Where that could be, that's still to be decided if he even does get traded. Barnes, what are your thoughts on just his performance for the rest of the season, regardless of trade or not?
Regardless of trade or not, I personally, I'm not an Aroldis Chapman truther. I do think that there's something there, though. Aroldis Chapman still has that good velocity. If he can command the fastball, that's going to be the ticket. Whenever he starts to get a little flustered with that fastball, when he loses a little bit of command, he starts throwing those sliders. And obviously, if you don't have good command of the fastball, your slider's just going to hang right over the middle of the plate. And that's where we've seen Chapman get burned. So I think it's really going to be dependent if he can get that fastball command back. If he can, I think he's lights out. I think he could be a great setup man for Holmes, or, hey, possibly pass Holmes. But right now, Holmes is the guy. I think he's got to earn his way back, but hey, I think he's got a great job, being a 7th or 8th setup guy.
Yeah, no, he's been he can be a solid piece. It's just, can he put it all together? Will he be able to? Who knows? Will he be with the Yankees? Who knows? That's all to be figured out. Next up, we're going to hit the last position player on this list. Gleyber Torres, 268 average, 325 on base, 484 slugging, 809 OPS, 130 OPS plus. He has, and the one interesting thing for me, Gleyber Torres, he's got 18 doubles, 14 homers. He's getting a decent amount of extra base hits. It's kind of a bounce back year for him. So I'm going to go to, I'm going to go to Barnes, actually. I'll save John for the last one because John went first on Aroldis Chapman. So Barnes, thoughts on Gleyber Torres and expectations for the rest of the season?
Expectations I have for Torres, I think he's just got to step it up a little bit. What I really liked seeing is in the last 2 weeks before this All-Star break, is I really did notice him just getting on the ball a little bit more. He was hitting it hard, making good contact, getting those doubles. And I always feel like there's the announcer's curse. Whenever the announcer goes, "Oh, just so you know, player whoever does great in these situations." There was a game against the Red Sox where Gleyber Torres had a chance to get the walk-off run, and they cursed him. He hit right into a double play, and I was like, God, just save that for the break. But I really liked what I saw, so I expect him to improve those stats. I expect him to be hitting up a little bit higher in the lineup, driving in those extra RBIs for the Yankees.
Yeah, no, Gleyber, his expected numbers, 268 average to a 264 expected batting average, 484 slugging to a 511 expected slugging. So his batted ball stats are somewhat similar to what his actual stats are. Now the big difference I did see in stats is he has a 3 WAR on Baseball Reference, a 2 WAR on Fangraphs. So they do differ a little bit. And I think the big thing is they differ a little bit on his defense. John, agree with what Barnes said?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, Claber Torres has been gaining his confidence back. As I mentioned on the podcast recently, I'm going to say it again. A wise man once said, half of baseball is 90% mental. And Gleyber Torres seems to be getting his confidence back. As each month is going by, he's just looked better and more confident in the box. I pulled up his game logs on Baseball Reference from June 2nd, or because they didn't play on June 1st, until today. Gleyber Torres has been batting 290, 367 on base percentage, 496 slugging, 864 OPS. So Gleyber Torres has been on a hot streak. It hasn't really been, I don't feel like it's been noticed. And other than like what Barnes said about the announcer saying, hey, like he's great in these spots. Like, I don't really think anyone's talking too much about Gleyber Torres and actually still kind of downplaying what he's doing. I think Gleyber Torres is in for a big second half. I think he can really carry this team. We've been talking about how guys need rest. This is a guy that's young, has been pretty much rested the whole first half. I think can play a lot more almost every day. And if he really starts getting his stroke back, which it kind of looks like he's doing, Gleyber Torres can have a big second half, be a huge part of the Yankees down the stretch. And as we've seen in his clutch hitting this season, maybe this guy's a postseason hero too.
Yeah, he's having a solid year. It's definitely a better year than what he had the last couple years. And I know his numbers were a little bit inflated because he hit like a gazillion homers against the Orioles. I'm not taking shots at him, but it is the truth. He did, destroy the Orioles teams that were terrible. But you're kind of supposed to do that. But last but not least, we're gonna take the Yankees closer right here, Clay Holmes. 41 games, 41 in the third innings pitched. He got 16 saves, a 131 ERA, 151 expected ERA, a 232 expected FIP. And then the big stats, a 293 ERA plus. And then you go to the Fangraphs, a 34 ERA minus, which that's actually good. You want to be under 100 in ERA minus, and a 48 FIP minus. He's been stellar this year. Going to go to John. Clay Holmes, what do you have on him? What do you think he's going to be for the rest of the season?
If you listen to our podcast, some Boston fans were taking shots at Clay Holmes, saying the Red Sox broke Clay Holmes because he kind of had a sort of not great outing against the Red Sox and had a bad outing against the Cincinnati Reds. I think that one bad week is a blip. This guy still got good movement on his pitching, great late movement on his pitching, I should say. The guy's been excellent. I see no reason to think that he's going to be anything other than that going down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I say it every time we're on here, even though as a Red Sox fan, I love Clay Holmes' pitch mix. And, I honestly, I agree with you. I do think it's kind of just a blip. Just one bad, actually, realistically, not even a bad week. Just a game that was not his best, but still wasn't bad. Just the circumstances were unfortunate. And then the bad outing against the Reds. But everyone has bad outings once in a while. Barnes, Clay Holmes, you agree with what John said?
John, you nailed it. Clay Holmes is a beast. He's the Sherlock Holmes. He comes in, he's locking down the inning. He's great. He has that one blip on the Cincinnati Reds. What are you going to do? Every dog has his day. Some days are just the bad days. Literally a blip on the map. Hey, Red Sox fans, just so you know, after that Cincinnati Reds game, his ERA on the season went to 137. Oh, and then after the Red Sox series recently, it's down. It's not up. You didn't break him. You didn't work it higher in early July. You didn't work it up any. You didn't get to him. He's going to be fine. We know he can pitch against the Astros, which is what we're needing. He can pitch against the Red Sox. He can pitch against anyone. And he's crushed the Rays this year, who look like they're going to get in. And they're probably the next hardest team, I think, besides the Astros.
When they're fully
So,
healthy.
yeah.
That's a big caveat.
Hey,
for
listen.
them.
Hey, we're not talking Rays right now, but Rays, hey, they're going to find a way to get through. And we know that Holmes can pitch against them. So I'm not too worried about it. Holmes is our guy. Get him in there. He makes me feel safe. He's my little safety blanket.
Yeah. He's been solid. Now, so before we're gonna wrap this thing up, but one word answers from both of you. Buy or sell. Aaron Judge gonna hit 60 home runs this year. I'll go to John first.
Sell. Oh, I want to buy it so bad, but I'm going to sell that one.
Barnes.
I'm selling. I think he goes over 51 though.
Okay, that's fair. I did want to get that in last second. But thanks for checking out Bleacher Brawls. Thanks for checking out the YouTube channel. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that stuff. Share the video while you're down there, and look at the description. Check out all our links to podcast, website, Instagram, Twitter, plus other stuff. I can't remember everything. All the crew's Twitters are down there. Comment your thoughts on the Yankees, whether you're a Yankees fan, a Red Sox fan, or just a fan of baseball. Let us know what your thoughts are. We do a lot of Twitter Spaces on Twitter, so come tune in for those, or you can talk to us live and ask us questions of your own. That's going to wrap it up for John and Barnes. I'm Derek. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
And one last shout out to Matt Carpenter.